Vitor Belfort with Tom, the moment he felt any pressure on his ankle, he tapped immediately, which lets me know a lot about him.
The reason why I think this does not look good, and I'm gonna just say it straight, Tommy Aspinall was losing that fight. Right away, the guy is saying, I can't see. That is the one thing I have to say. Tommy really up. You can't say I can't see. We know those are the nail in the coffin to any fight. You can't say that.
Right eye still can't see anything. Said it's just grey. And they tested him on words and he just couldn't see anything. His left eye, 50%, he went down about 4 letters and then couldn't see the letters. So one's really blurry and one's still not working.
Following Tom Aspinall's eye poke incident and his decision not to continue, an old interview of Jon Jones has resurfaced online. In the clip from 6 months ago, Jones questions Aspinall's toughness, recalling an early loss where Tom quickly tapped out after an ankle lock. Jones contrasts that with his own experience of refusing to quit even under severe pain, saying Aspinall's quick tap showed a lot about his mentality and willingness to endure under pressure.
I'll be interested to see if he wins his next fight. Cause
what's the rumor? Cyril gone?
Cyril gone, supposedly. There's a video that hasn't gone viral, but one of his losses, he was very much an adult, I believe already a black belt, and he was taken down and the guy twisted his ankle. He had no defense. He tapped so quickly. I had a fight where I got arm barred and I was literally willing to let somebody break my arm before giving up.
This is Vitor Belfort.
Vitor Belfort with Tom. The moment he felt any pressure on his ankle, he tapped immediately, which lets me know a lot about him.
Jon Jones also took advantage of this situation and shared a post on his Instagram where someone made a comparison of the fight between him versus Cyril Gane and the one between Aspinall and Gane. The fans completely understood what Jones was trying to say, and many believe Jones might have earned some of his reputation back after retiring without Aspinall. On the other hand, Tom Aspinall's father gives a worrying update on his son's condition, revealing that Tom still has no vision in his right eye, describing it as completely gray. He adds that the left eye is only partially functioning, with very blurry sight, showing how serious the injury remains.
We got an appointment yesterday morning with a friend of ours who is one of the doctors from the UFC, and he got us a private appointment at Cheadle Hospital to see an eye specialist yesterday. He kind of basically did the same as the guy that we saw over there, said it's bad, it's not good, but his eye is a little bit more closed than it was. His right eye still can't see anything, said it's just grey. And they tested him on words and he just couldn't see anything. His left eye, 50%, he went down about 4 letters and then couldn't see the letters. So one's really blurry and one's still not working.
Andy Aspinall explains that when an eye suffers that kind of damage, it can sometimes shift out of place, though doctors don't think that happened in Tom's case. He says one of Tom's eyes wasn't moving correctly because the muscles seemed too weak, while the other was in even worse shape. Andy mentions that more tests are planned, including a CT scan, to make sure there's no structural damage around the eye.
Sometimes when your eyes heal like that, it can become displaced and stay there. And they did a few tests on that and they said it doesn't seem like that. And his vision on the eye that's the best eye, his eye wasn't following properly, so the muscles weren't working strong enough to go this way. This one just wasn't working that good at all. So we've got to have additional tests further this week, and Moyes is sorting the tests out for us, and he's got to have a CT scan, see if the bone's all right, but they think the bone's all right.
Dr. Brian Stutter, a well-known sports medicine doctor, explains that Tom Aspinall's eye injury was more serious than it appeared, noting that an eye can look fine on the outside but still fail to function properly. He says the force from a deep eye poke delivers enough trauma to seriously affect vision, even if there's no visible damage.
What I saw was a mechanism, a moment, a foul, right, that clearly can cause, even if it's not specifically a big, bad, severe injury, can clearly cause enough visual impairment that the fight should be stopped. And that's really what I think you have to focus on. Everybody seemed to be latching onto the fact that, you know, even at the hospital afterwards, right, the doctor said, well, there's no serious damage. People saw that his eye visually looked okay. The doctor that was there covering the fight said the eye looks okay. And there's a big difference between something looking okay and something functioning okay. And when you get knuckles dug deep into your eyes, not just on one side, but on both sides, that is plenty force, that's plenty trauma to cause your eye to not function the right way, even though it might objectively look okay when the doctor is there at the ringside examining it.
Dr. Brian Stutter believes the situation was handled exactly as it should have been. He explains that even if the eye looked fine, the key factors were clear. A foul occurred, the injury was evident, and the fighter reported vision loss. He says that when a fighter can't see, they can't defend themselves, making it impossible for the fight to continue, which to him made the decision straightforward.
And so I think it was handled perfectly. I think, yeah, the eye visually looks okay, but in those circumstances, you have, number one, a foul, you have a mechanism of injury, and you have a fighter that's telling you symptoms. It's telling you they can't see. And if you can't see, you can't protect yourself. You can't protect yourself, the fight can't continue. So it seemed very, very straightforward to me.
Meanwhile, Aljamain Sterling gives his take on Tom Aspinall's decision to stop after the eye poke, saying he's not fully siding with him this time. He mentions that while the post-fight photos showed damage, everything seemed fine afterward, which left him with several doubts. Sterling points out that the worst poke appeared to affect one eye, yet Aspinall complained about the other. He believes the situation didn't look good because, in his view, Tom was already falling behind in the fight before it ended.
I'm going to be on the side of Tommy, but I'm not. I'm not in the sense that he posted after the fight his eye, and we got to see the damage, and apparently, from what was posted, it looks like everything is okay. But I have so many questions, man. I have so many questions. He got double zoinked. I get it. But the one that got zoinked the worst, like where it looked like the nail, the middle finger went in a little bit further. He wasn't even complaining about that eye. He was complaining about the other one, which would look to me on camera, the right eyeball. Mind you, the reason why I think this does not look good, and I'm going to just say it straight, Tommy Aspinall was losing that fight.
Aljamain Sterling believes Tom Aspinall made a mistake by immediately declaring that he couldn't see because saying that phrase guarantees a fight stoppage. He thinks Tom should have asked for time to recover instead. Sterling adds that the fight looked like it was getting difficult for Aspinall, which makes him question how bad the poke truly was, though he doesn't doubt Tom's honesty.
Right away, the guy is saying, I can't see. That is the one thing I have to say. Tommy really f***ed up. You can't say I can't see. We know those are the nail in the coffin to any fight. You can't say that. So if you actually want your 5 minutes to try to recover, to see if you can stay in the fight, you can't use those words. Just say, okay, let me take my time to see if things get better. If guys want to compete, that's what they say. I got illegally kneed, blasted in the head, and I got destroyed on social media for a year and a half. I'm sitting there on the ground and I go, just, give me my time and I'll see if I can recover. And now you have this where it's just like, I straight up can't see. I do feel that watching the fight, there's something to be said that the fight looked like it was starting to get tough. And for those things, it makes me question it. Do I question Tommy and his integrity? No, but I think it makes me question, like, did that hurt as much as you said it did? It makes me wonder.
Jim Miller suggests that the UFC should fine fighters to cut down on eye pokes. He believes putting pay on the line will make fighters keep their hands tighter and be more careful when reaching so they do not risk poking an opponent's eye.
We don't kick each other in the UFC. We don't kick each other to the head when the opponent is on the ground because we lose. Because they have a very good track record of penalizing people that do so. I believe that if we brought in fines, right? Hey, the warning is in the back. Like, if you're going to take my money away, I'm going to make sure that my hands are closed when I'm reaching out. I'm going to make sure that I don't poke somebody in the eye if you're going to take my money away. But like, they're not even they're not really penalizing people, And the thing is a lot of the times when somebody gets poked in the eye, their chances of victory are super slim. Like, the person that gets poked in the eye very, very rarely wins that.
Henry Cejudo also reacts to the incident and criticizes the whole UFC 321 event, saying the promotion won't be pleased with how things turned out. He points out that the company now has to spend more money to rebook fights and calls the entire card one of the worst he's ever seen. Cejudo mentions poor judging, bad outcomes, and disappointing fights from top to bottom, describing the event as one he just wanted to be over.
I mean, you see the comparison what happened to it's what it is, but it don't take much. It doesn't take much, but I know the UFC won't be happy on this. I mean, it is what it is. They got to rebook him now. more money, more publicity. This is probably the worst card, man, that the UFC has ever probably put together. Like, honestly, straight up, this is the worst card of UFC history. From the co-main to the main event. I mean, it just couldn't get any worse. Horrible decisions, judging, like the whole nine. This is like, wake me up when this card ends.
On the other hand, Tom Aspinall's father clarified his comments about suggesting Tom switch to boxing. He dismissed claims that his words had any effect on Tom's performance, saying people were overreacting. He explained that his suggestion was purely financial, noting that any parent would want their child to earn more money for the same amount of risk.
Some reporters think that because I think that he should box because it's more money, that affected him in the fight. I've never heard as much shit as people saying what I say affects Tom in a fight. I say loads of things to loads of people. People who are around me all the time know that. Boxers are around me all the time. It's just because of the money. And it's the back to, if your son was a fighter, would you sooner fight for a ton of money or not a ton of money? It's a no-brainer, but people still have a narrative of what a fight is.
Michael Bisping also reacted to Andy's earlier statement and believed Tom Aspinall's father made a mistake by publicly mentioning plans to move to boxing. He explained that such discussions should happen privately and not through the media. Bisping added that talking about leaving the UFC right before a major fight was risky, noting that if Tom had lost, it could have hurt his chances of getting another title shot.
Yeah. And there was the whole thing with DC. Remember that? You probably saw that, whispered into the microphone. You know, he didn't need to release that, you know, so he kind of dropped the ball a little bit there. And then his dad was talking about the boxing thing. You know, after this contract, we're leaving. And I was like, what are you doing? You don't negotiate like that in public. You speak to them men to men, man to man. I mean, if that's what you want to do, great. But if you had have lost on Saturday night, good luck getting another title fight. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, I'm not speaking for the UFC. That's just me sitting here, just got off a plane in Dubai.
Meanwhile, Michael Bisping thinks Tom Aspinall's inexperience with handling an eye poke may have contributed to the fight's early end. He notes that fans started criticizing after Aspinall told the doctor multiple times that he couldn't see. Bisping believes that being in an unfamiliar situation, Tom might not have realized how his words would affect the outcome. He explains that seasoned fighters usually avoid saying that unless their vision is truly gone or they fear a serious injury.
We don't know, right? The only person that knows is Tom, right? And I think where people are starting to criticize and have a certain opinion is because he said, I can't see, multiple times to the doctor. Now, maybe it's because it's his first situation like that, but we've all been around the sport long enough to know that that's not what you say to the doctor if you want to continue to fight. Unless you can't actually see and you're panicking because you're worried about your vision, because you're like, hold on a minute. Imagine this. You got two working eyes. I can remember what those days were like. And then all of a sudden you can't see and you're freaking out and you panicked and you're like, hold on a minute. I don't give right now about this fight. I care about my vision.
Paul Felder shares his reaction to the eye poke incident, admitting he was initially disappointed and thought Tom Aspinall should have continued, given it was a heavyweight title fight, but after seeing how severe the injury was and that both eyes were affected, his view changed. Felder says only Aspinall knew how bad his vision truly was, and notes that facing someone as precise as Cyril Gane with limited sight would have been risky. He believes Tom made the sensible decision to stop rather than endanger himself further.
I was as disappointed as anybody else, and I think at first I really was kind of on the side of, man, Tom, like, come on, you got to step up. This is a main event, this heavyweight title. Take as much time as you need, but get back in there. I think when I saw the poke and how bad it was and the fact that it compromised both eyes, it was ugly. And you're right that only Tom Aspinall really knows, could he have continued? And I think I talked to a few people about this, and somebody brought up a really good point to me that, let's say that he could kind of see, but it was not great 100%. And you're in there with a guy like Cyril Gane, who's on point. He's on point. You haven't been in the octagon in a really long time. And now you're compromised. And even if you maybe can continue, do you I think there was a part of it that was like, I'm not fighting this guy with not 100% vision.
Paul Felder explains that after such a severe eye poke, a fighter's vision rarely returns to normal during the fight. He mentions that the blurriness lingers and can worsen with movement, making it nearly impossible to fight effectively. Felder notes that Cyril Gane was already finding his range when Aspinall's vision was clear, so continuing while half-blind would have been dangerous. He feels Tom made the right decision to stop, and reminds fans that Gane was the one who committed the foul, which shouldn't be overlooked.
And after a poke like that, you're not going to have 100% vision. Even as the fight goes on, you're still going to be a little blurry. You're still going to be rubbing your eye. And if anything is off with Cyril Gane on that night, he's catching you. He's finding you. He's already finding the mark when you had two eyes that were working 100%. So I do think there was a part of it where he was thinking, I'm not continuing this because now I'm compromised, and it's on Cyril Gane because he is the one that committed the foul, right? I know there's been a lot of talk, and I know you're thinking the same thing. There's been a lot of talk of Tom. We're kind of getting lost in that, and whether he could have or couldn't have, it was Cyril Gane that made a pretty egregious foul there. So that's got to be addressed.
Sean Brady also defends Tom Aspinall after the eye poke from Cyril Gane, describing it as one of the worst he's ever seen. He compares it to how fighters react differently to groin strikes, explaining that pain tolerance varies from person to person. Brady says Gane's finger went deep into Aspinall's eye and insists that Tom's willingness to fight should never be doubted, as the injury was simply too severe for him to continue safely.
It was trending towards being a good fight, and bro, that eye poke was very bad.
Yeah.
Very bad, and bro, I was like deflated afterwards. I was like, God damn.
And it sucks for Tom too, because it's like you've been out
Bro.
for over a year waiting on John.
way
you don't
over
get
a
it. Then you
year.
get this, and then you, I don't know. Bro.
Yeah, and then like he was getting booed afterwards. He's like, bro, I didn't poke myself in the eye. Like,
To the back
how
of my
many
head.
times? Like, you get punched sometimes, and you think you get poked.
Yeah.
His one finger was in his skull.
Yeah,
Like-
it was a good quarter of his finger just. Bam.
Yeah, so you think Tom, like, and that's some nut ass shit. Like, you think Tom Aspinall didn't want to continue that? Like, you think he didn't want to fight that motherfucker?
Meanwhile, Matt Brown disagrees with the fighters who criticize Tom Aspinall, saying that while he respects Chael Sonnen and Anthony Smith, he thinks they let emotion influence their opinions. He explains that their quick reaction likely came from frustration that the main event ended early, just like many fans felt. Still, Brown believes they should have looked at the situation more calmly and with a better understanding.
You know, those guys, man, I love both those guys. You know, I almost have like hold back saying like my real feelings here, because I do actually respect and love both the Anthony and Chael, especially Anthony. Like, I've trained with them and like we're friends. Like when I see Anthony, I really like the guy. I think he's very smart, and I think he's a great analyst, by the way. I just think they're way off base here, and the fact that they said it straight away right on the post-fight show, I don't know if they didn't put any thought into it, if it was just kind of an immediate reaction, because I think there's probably a little bit of recency bias there, where they're just like, you know, they're very disappointed the fight didn't happen, and they're like, you know, in our heads, like, dude, I think we all felt the same way. How about the people that paid $80 to watch it? Like, yeah, they're all like, I wanted to see a goddamn main event. I don't care about your eye. I care about my $80. I get that recency bias, but you gotta look at this realistically too. Cyril Gane's finger went knuckle deep into his eye.
Matt Brown emphasizes that fighting is a sport built on rules meant to ensure fairness. He explains that without those rules, fighters would target vulnerable areas like the eyes or groin to end bouts quickly, turning the contest into something dangerous and uncontrolled. Brown believes that when a rule is broken, the responsible fighter should be disqualified so the opponent isn't punished for competing fairly or left with a no contest.
Like I said, it's a competition. It's meant to be a fair fight. Like there's not meant to be eye gouges. Like, you're not. That's why they have that rule in place. Is it because you're not supposed to gouge each other in his eyes? If that rule wasn't in place, we'd be that would be. I've always thought about this. If there was actually no rules, right? The entire strategy would be to get to their eyes or their nuts. Right? It would literally be a kicking contest, an eye poking contest. Right? That's how you incapacitate someone faster than anything else. So it's like, you know, we are in a sport now, not just a street fight. It is an actual sport, and there are rules. When one guy breaks the rules, the other guy should not deal with the punishment for that.
And it shouldn't be a no contest. It should be a disqualification.
Meanwhile, Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen agree that Tom Aspinall did the right thing by choosing not to continue. They point out that in MMA, fighters often face a choice between what seems honorable and what is actually smart. Using Anthony Smith's fight with John Jones as an example, they note that Smith showed heart by continuing, while Aspinall made the intelligent decision to protect his long-term health, even if it disappointed some fans.
He's got more days ahead of him. So if you live to fight another day, it was like a couple weeks ago when DeRidder's corner threw in the towel. You fight another day. If you can't see, and you're the reigning defending champion, and you can't see, then you don't fight. You have too much to lose, Chael. And we always try to measure the smart decision versus the honorable decision. I thought Anthony Smith was very honorable when John Jones kneed him in the head on the ground. I thought Anthony Smith also was dumb. He should have took the win, went home as the champion, and then came back and collected some pay-per-view points in the rematch. That's just me. Honorable versus smart, I think Tom Aspinall just made the smart decision, and that ultimately upset a lot of people.
I agree with that too. I do think that that was the right decision. I do think that that was the smart decision. Tom's got one thing to do, which is to leave that arena with the title that he brought in to that arena.
However, earlier, Chael Sonnen believed Tom Aspinall should have continued fighting despite the eye poke from Cyril Gane. He argues that overcoming adversity is part of being a champion and that pushing through tough moments is what separates elite fighters from the rest.
Being poked in the eye is illegal, Brendan, but to fight with one eye is very common. The opponent's trying to hit your eye. He's trying to bust up and make your nose bleed. So that part of it does have question for guys like Anthony and I. We're trying to be polite. We're trying to show grace. But in all fairness, if you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you got to fight with one eye at a time.
Chael Sonnen felt the fight was tougher for Tom Aspinall than he expected. He pointed out that most of Tom's past wins came in the first round, so he had never truly faced adversity or been tested deep into a fight. Sonnen noted that Tom's reaction after the eye poke, keeping ice on his eye and speaking softly with his corner, suggested he had mentally checked out. To Sonnen, it looked like a fighter who knew he was finished.
I thought that the fight was turning out to be a little bit harder than perhaps Tom had expected. I had one concern with Tom, and this is not his fault. It's because he's so doggone good. But the reality is he finished 6 guys in the first round. He's never been to a third round of a fight, just for example. So the question is, how are you going to respond when things get tough? But there was something about the way that the story was being told, the way that it was being held on the eye and never removed. I mean, don't forget, this cloth that he had in his eye contained an ice cube. This wasn't some kind of a magic cloth that was going to cure a cornea or something that was wrong with your eye or even take swelling away. It contained an ice cube. Right. And it was just being held on there oddly. Then there was conversations that were taking place. There was a story that was being told. And I've checked out of fights before. Yeah. I know what it looks like, and I knew that he was done.
That wraps up today's video, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more MMA updates and reactions.